3 times a week just to absolve some of the guilt. And a bunch of people do it, like Bono and Edge do the windows. Kirk Hammett, the guitar player from Metallica, he dusts, house cleans, makes French toast. That's a true story. Even Kurt Cobain wanted to be as good as the Ramones. The list is endless. Turn page. So, they never had a top 10 hit. You know it's crazy when Phil Spector produces your record and you still don't have a top 10 record. But it's really circumstantial. It doesn't matter. It doesn't alter the fact that they were one of the most important bands in rock and roll. And they accomplished a lot, for a punk band when most of the others, like Sex Pistols, were all crash and burn. Most punk bands were pretty much crash and burn. And, in the Sex Pistols case, thank you, Malcolm McLaren, for being an ego-driven fool. Fuck for the non-edited version of this VH1 televised event. They existed for 22 years with the same level of intensity the whole time. And they may not have gotten along the whole time, but that was touring for 22 years in a van, for fuck's sake. So you have to understand. It's a highly respectable thing to travel in a van, not go up to a tour bus, not get your separate planes because you don't get along with the other guys in your band. It's torturously insane to stay in a van for 8 years, but they did it. And even after Dee Dee left the band, who was such a huge part of the band, he still wrote songs for them, which I think speaks to the brotherhood they had, an intense brotherhood of sorts. And I have to mention, after Dee Dee left, there was some intense shoes, Converse shoes to fill. And the guy who did it, his name is CJ, and for whatever reason, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame chose not to include him with those being inducted. It's a Hall of Fame thing. I wouldn't understand, but he played 800-something shows. He participated in 3 or 4 records, wrote a lot of songs, and really importantly, he was accepted by the hardcore Ramones fans. He also played at a time when the Ramones kept playing and were able to play for another generation because of CJ. And CJ's been working 12-hour days cleaning pollution out of the air ducts down around the World Trade Center. And he's here tonight. He might not get up here, but I was going to ask him to stand up and be recognized. CJ Ramone. I'll mention that Johnny Ramone's been an extremely, extremely great friend. His wife and he have been such a great friend to me and taught me a lot about music. I was too young to see. Going back to the Brenda Lee comment and Gene Pitney, I was introduced to them by John. He's been a tutor of sorts, and the guy saw Hendrix and was sitting down. The whole crowd was sitting down. He saw the Who open for the Doors. He himself has more information than probably the institution to which he's being inducted into tonight. Okay, at this point I've spoke long enough where you could have played 3 or 4 Ramones songs. And after this, I'm sure the evening will move quickly. But it's the Ramones and it's punk rock, and I'm just about finished, and I hope you're okay with that. Apparently you're not. Fuck you. Take it easy, Eddie. All right. The last thing I was going to say was about the Ramones. Manager Gary Kerr first talked to me, and he said that there was a night back in December of the year 2000, and he got a phone call from Joey Ramone, and Joey had an accident in front of his apartment and slipped and fell on some ice, and was I guess he was just laying there for a bit and tangled up. He ended up breaking his hip, and he wasn't getting any help. People were just walking by and either side of him, and he was pretty upset by it. You know, at the end, I guess he called Gary saying, you know, the worst part about it was no one would help me. You know, we were just down, no one would help me. And maybe they didn't know it was Joey Ramone. But he's tangled in black hair, and they think he's a bum or whatever. But in a way, it's only mentioned because it's kind of analogous to like the Ramones' career in a way. And you know, it's hard. That's why tonight's you know, and then obviously Joey died on Easter of 2001, less than a year ago. And I'm sure he would have loved to be here tonight. But you know, the only reason I mention that is that that's why tonight's really important and special, is because I'm sure there's a number of bands and people who will never get to be up here and never get to be you know, brought up in front of all you people and applauded. And I thought that would probably happen with the Ramones, and the fact that something very unusual is happening here tonight, and that this industry is paying some respect to the Ramones. So with the power invested in me, I'd like to induct Joey, Johnny, Dee Dee, Tommy, Marky, CJ, which you talked about, the Ramones.